We are recording with the one and only Miss Clare Lopez on Sunday, July 14th, 2024 at 2:19 p.m. Eastern Time. And the biggest news today should be that my air conditioner finally kicked in and now I'm in a bathrobe and it's 100 degrees outside and I have no idea what's going on, but that is probably the least newsworthy topic in the last, I don't know, 50 years. And it's ironic that it's you and I haven't done a show in like a month entirely on me. And somebody asked me yesterday, like, when's Claire coming on? Not my mom. My mom was asking, but someone else was like, you have to have Claire on. I was like, she's coming on tomorrow. And they were like, good job scheduling that. I was like, that was actually scheduled like a week
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, that just
I'll
happened.
I'll take the credit.
I mean, originally this was to have been Bastille Day, right?
Yeah, it's and yesterday was what, Caesar's birthday or something. A lot of I don't know what's going on. All I know
Why?
is in my limited understanding is I don't think I don't I know I haven't. I don't think we've fully grasped how much was avoided
Oh,
yesterday. So go
well, I
into that,
think we have a
Claire.
pretty good idea. I mean, by
I'm gonna post a
millimeters,
live link.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna post a live link. You take it over.
Okay.
So where is he right now? What is he doing right now? I mean, I know he landed
President
in
Trump,
yeah, I know he landed
he
in Newark
flew,
last
he
night.
flew, actually last night after being released from the hospital. He flew to Bedminster, his property in New Jersey, and he's there now with, as you might expect, much enhanced security. The family is there with him, of course. And then I guess he'll be there until tomorrow, being Monday, the 15th, when the Republican National Convention begins in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he has pledged that he will be speaking.
So the first thing I did, what I always try to do with this show is instead of my own baseless speculation and, every friend group is, whether we realize it or not, an echo chamber. And so the first thing I did was I contacted Dale. Dale was the youngest ever member of Delta Force at 23. He's 61 now. He did presidential security for George H.W. Bush, personal detail when he was visiting Iraq during Desert Storm. And he's also done he did extensive security for a billionaire in Hong Kong back in the early, I think, 2000s or 2010. So extensive experience in all of
Yeah.
this. And the first thing I did was I had him on for all of 10 minutes last night. And he was talking about kind of rings of security, and he said really the only thing he can point at right now is that it was a complete lack of security in that, some people are it's inside job. It was allowed to happen. Dale said, and I have to defer to Dale, just like I defer to Dr. Malone on. He said that in a sense, it was abstractly in that the Biden administration has repeatedly turned down requests for beefed up security, much like they've outright denied Secret Service for
Yeah, this is what
RFK.
Dan Bongino has been saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe was it 9 or 10 congressmen or women last week or a couple weeks ago were pushing a bill to remove Secret Service from convicted
Yes. Can
felons.
you
So
imagine? And not giving it to other presidential candidate, independent candidate, Robert F.
Robert F.
Kennedy
Kennedy.
Jr.
So what is to make, and then 5 days prior, Joe Biden says enough with the debate. It's time to put Donald Trump in the
I
bullseye.
saw that. Yeah.
And then he didn't release anything for 2 hours last night. And they said, was this an assassination attempt? And he said, I don't have the facts. A bullet hit President Trump in the head. What is to make of it? Like short of it just it feels like we're a car on the edge of a cliff right now, and it's just like what is going on in your expert opinion?
Well, I mean, there definitely is that feeling for sure. I think most of America was glued to our TV sets last night. I sure was. And back and forth with so many people texting and on the phone with family members and all. And the feeling was the same everywhere. But I would say the first thing is just absolute thankfulness that President Trump is all right. It appears that that bullet kind of clipped his right ear, not his head even, but his right ear, the top of it. And that's why we saw those photos of the blood dripping down, the side of his face from his ear. But thankfully, no further injuries. I mean, within millimeters, it could have been so much worse. And the fact that, he stood up, right afterwards. He ducked down. I mean, great instincts. You heard the pop, 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 pop,
Mhm.
and he immediately ducks down behind the podium. And I don't know if people know, but that band in front of the podium of bunting, the red, white, and blue bunting, that conceals a bulletproof barrier.
Oh, okay.
So once they get him behind that, he is protected at least from that angle. And then, of course, within 2-3 seconds, that Secret Service detail present there with him at the podium was on top of him. I mean, bodily protecting him from any more bullets fired. So credit goes to that team who responded so quickly, got him behind the barrier. And then I'm sure it took a couple seconds to just kind of take a quick assessment, can he sit up? Can he stand up? And yes, he could. And he did with their help, and they surrounded him completely and hustled him off the stage and into the waiting armor-plated car. So credit goes to those Secret Service agents there. But to Dale's point, absolutely, and everybody else has been remarking on this all day long, last night to begin, and all day long now today, on the different shows and online. And that is, of course, that this was an absolutely catastrophic failure by the Secret Service to properly secure the perimeter, not just a little baby perimeter of 50 meters or whatever around the podium. No, perimeter extending to the extent that a sniper rifle round could hypothetically reach the podium. That's your perimeter. It
Mhm.
seems to me, and I'm no expert in Secret Service, but it seems to me that if they had done that, they would have looked to any high points within at least 500 meters of that stage, around it, all around it. And obviously these warehouse buildings off to President Trump's right as he
Mhm.
was speaking there last night, those warehouse buildings with the flat white roofs were barely, I'm not sure exactly, but a maximum a couple hundred meters away. So how did they not have that covered with somebody physically present on top of those roofs? Because it looks like the shooter, um, this Thomas Crooks
Trucks.
character, um, climbed up to the top of the roof kind of at the last minute. He wasn't setting up there for a very long time. But when he did get up there, it looks like members of the audience outside of the inner perimeter. We saw I'm sure you did too, that interview of the attendee at the rally, a gentleman with red
Yeah,
hair,
yeah.
interviewed by the BBC, right? And I guess he and others also saw Crooks, belly crawling across that roof with a weapon and tried frantically to get the attention of law enforcement, Secret Service, anybody, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't get their attention. Um, but however, the counter, sniper team assigned to Trump up on the roof directly behind him and to his right, apparently were looking towards those warehouse buildings, and and
Mhm.
and with their weapon, one sighter, one spotter, and one shooter, looking in that direction, and apparently that is how they took down the shooter very quickly, but after he had already shot off 7 or 8 rounds, um, killing one member of
Mhm.
the rally attendants and critically injuring two more who remain in the hospital, as well as clipping President Trump's right ear. So that was an absolute catastrophic failure. But I will also give credit to the response. Like I said, first of all, of the immediate team around him, Secret Service immediately, those guys, gals around him at the podium, but also to the audience, which responded not in, panic and, mad, running away, stampede. They didn't do that. They ducked down, of course, and unfortunately, three, not quickly enough. The one fatality, the young father, I think of two girls,
Yeah.
um,
He was a fire
husband,
chief.
father of two daughters, threw himself on top of his wife and daughters, and that's how he was killed. So not quickly enough for them, but the audience around Trump at that podium did duck down. They did not stampede. They did not panic, and they waited those few seconds while the Secret Service were on top of Trump, protecting him and getting him to his feet. And when that happened, I mean, barely 5 seconds later, I mean, it was so fast. Um, they broke into applause and cheers. You could see how relieved they were, and how glad they were to see that he was standing up on his own power, and then walking off the stage, down the steps, surrounded and supported by those Secret Service agents right there on the scene. Oh, and I should mention, I mean, the iconic photograph, right?
Mhm.
Which has got to be the photo of the year, and the year's only, a little more than half done, but that is going to be an iconic photograph for the ages. It should be
Mhm.
on every single Trump campaign ad from here on out. And that, of course, is of Trump standing surrounded by the Secret Service agents, with his fist raised, and it looks like he is saying the words "fight, fight, fight." Reading his lips, that is what he was saying, and that gave such reassurance and such confidence to the crowd that, number one, he was okay, um, even if injured, but okay. But secondly, that he was not given up. And then, of course, the photographer beautifully captured the scene in terms of composing the scene, as it were, for the photograph, with the American flag hanging up behind all of them, the Secret Service agents and Trump himself. Just an iconic photograph. And again, that just shows the resilience, the courage, the unbelievable character of our President Trump.
Yeah, I saw some of the special forces guys I've had on here before were saying that, obviously through training you get better at getting shot at. Somebody like Dale doesn't freak out, whereas I would freak out. But they were saying, in terms of the first time you come under fire, they're like even the most, hardened guys, like they still hit the deck. Like it takes it's something you have
Sure.
to it's something that training can't do. You just have to go, which is why a lot of Secret Service obviously they do multiple combat tours. And they were
Mhm.
saying like that's wild. He stood up and did that. So that's kind of crazy when you see the special forces guys saying that's uncanny. But like, yeah, the video of the guy is got the visor and like the straight up hair, and and I did see something that did give me pause. Somebody was like, all right, admittedly, this guy kind of looks goofy, and we're taking his word over that of a very professional
Who is
organization.
this again?
I just saw this on Twitter. The point I'm making is that's it's not what you think it is. The guy that was in the video had the visor and he was like pointing, the guy who's saying we saw the guy on
Oh,
the
that he
roof.
saw the shooter up on top of the roof.
So
Uh-huh.
people were commenting about that guy saying like, just hey, for whatever it's worth, we're taking his word for it versus the Secret Service. Like, we don't, and that gave me pause. I was like, okay, who is this guy? Why is he saying that? But then videos start coming out of, I don't know if you've seen the
Others,
videos
not
of
just
people,
him.
but not videos of witnesses talking about it, videos of them pointing at the guy. You see him crawling and they're
Yeah,
screaming,
yeah.
gun, 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 gun,
He's got a
gun.
gun. He's
Because
got a
then
gun.
And
Yeah.
apparently this was going on for like 4 or 5. So
Yeah.
that is madness. The other thing, again, as a biology, who I'm just talking to Dale, who, by the way, so CAT, the counter assault team, those are your uniformed secrets, or not suits. The SWAT team guys, they're normally just out of the picture because it's not always the best look in a free and open society to have a SWAT team around you. But that's what the counter assault team is
Right, right.
there's no preface of we're wearing suits. It's straight up SWAT team. They're always
Hmm.
just out of Dale was formative in the creation of CAT. So whereas the Secret Service, from what I understand from Dale, the Secret Service's primary thing is you protect the president and then remove the president.
Hmm.
Counter assault team is you stay down there and, in Dale's words, you lay down an unholy amount of returning fire. You stay there and where Secret Service gets you out, CAT fights back.
Take out the threat as quickly as possible, which is what they did.
Sure, no, sure, no. Credit where it's due. What gets me is that this wasn't this wasn't a motorcade. This wasn't a moving motorcade, say Dallas, with hundreds, if not thousands, of windows. This was a stationary thing.
Hmm.
He's not on a roof like he's in the middle of a city. He was on the closest roof. It's a little tiny town. He's up there. There's a ladder visible from where he climbed up, and the counter assault team is looking at him. And if you look at the again from Dale, if you look at the photo of the guy, like he's got the dust cover over his scope, and he pokes his head up. And I mean, but again, I would imagine you do the Secret Service detail, you go on 10,000 different campaign speeches, and the last person to get shot was Reagan. I would imagine to a degree you probably let your guard down. After a while, you're okay. We're in, whatever at this rally. Okay, I would extend that kind of sure, but it's just the fact that you're not immediately scanning the
I mean, they were
horizons.
looking in the right direction,
Sure,
but somehow they didn't see this guy. Why? Because he was low crawling,
maybe they were looking farther
and
on the
because
horizon. I
he
don't.
only came up to the roof at
Sure.
the right time. And we can take off from there.
Yeah.
How did that shooter, Crooks, know what would be the right time? How did he know what place to put himself in
There's
with a clear, direct sight, line of sight shot to the president? How'd that all get planned?
this
This is a 20-year-old kid.
this isn't some guy driving by the police station and shooting a couple rounds and inducing a scare. This is You do not get close to that. Somebody saying like, "What do you, I don't know." Like, I don't know. I think it was random. And I said, "Hey, next time you see the president talking, go stand up on the nearest tall building." And what do you think it will be? Half a second before your head's taken off? Something's I
Well,
don't know.
and you may have heard this, Tommy, that I guess it was late last night. Uh, Agents found Crook's car, and there were
Full of
explosives
explosives,
in the car.
just like
Okay, that is
Columbine.
not spur of the moment anything.
No, man, this is not. This is the same thing as Columbine. Columbine, they put a bunch of explosives in their car. They wanted the emergency services to blow up when they opened their cars. It's just there's something so much deeper to this, and I don't know what it is. I have a
No, no,
biology
it's too
degree.
early
It's
to know.
sure, and
I
it's
agree.
less than 24 hours. So I also don't want to
Mm.
be the guy that's like, it's I look back at early episodes of where I'm like covering COVID and I'm like, oh, you idiot, shut up, wait for it
No,
to
we
so but no, but so I'm looking at this and I'm like, I mean, within a couple hours, like the name of the shooter changed 5 times. So I'm trying to look at this more like
I mean,
just stand back
well,
and
here's another thing. How did they identify this guy? He had no ID on him, reportedly. How did they ID him? How did they know who he was within a very short time?
all of his social medias are already
And
gone.
all of his social media is completely scrubbed. There's not a 20-year-old in America without a social media profile. He
They
had one, 100%, but
they
it was gone.
but
I
people
mean,
have already
like
found
hoot
the
sweet.
yeah, people have already found the video of his high school graduation, and he is actually also in a commercial for BlackRock investing. He's in a commercial, which is odd in itself. But whatever. Maybe he's whatever, just making some money being a background character, sure. But
But who and why, scrubbed
it's
his social media
well precisely.
so
We're
quickly? And how did they find it? How did they know to do that? Who did that? Or is it possible? Is it possible that Crooks himself scrubbed his own media before going out to do this?
No, they want their name out. They want to
Or
be
did
known.
others associated with him?
They're
Well, it depends on the circumstances. Were there others involved?
a
Did
thousand
they
percent.
not want the traces to lead to them at least right away?
1,000%. You don't. I mean, at worst, it's state actors in our own government, which I honestly, that's what I believe. At best, extremely well funded. You don't. You that. I'm sorry, man, but that guy looks like a kid you'd throw in a locker. That's not some square-jawed ex-Marine sniper where you're like, there's a guy that
No,
snapped.
I don't think he did it by himself either, but I
No,
absolutely do
we
not
can't.
think about
We
inside
can't know.
USG. But I
No.
do know that, for example, Iranian assassination hit teams have been inside the United States for years, going to find former National Security Advisor John Bolton and former
Mhm.
Secretary of State CIA Director too, um, Mike Pompeo, who now and since then have had 24/7 protection. We know that there are 10 to 15,000 Chinese jungle tigers in America. We know that the senior leadership of the Iranian regime has vowed revenge for the Trump order
Soleimani.
to take down, Qasem Soleimani, the commander of the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force back in January of 2020. The red flag still flies over the Jamgaran Mosque. We'll have to see if they take that down now. Maybe not, because Trump is happily still among us, and Soleimani is not. So any number of jihadis are in this country. Any number of cartel and gang members are in this country. I mean, there's a long list of possibles that we just simply cannot say with any certainty. We don't know right now. But I would agree with you on one point, and that is that this 20-year-old kid did not do this all by himself.
Correct. And you're right. It is we cannot know. That's the reality. It hasn't been 24 hours. That's the reality is, and I have to kind of temper my own emotions and be like, we don't. But I think anyone with a functioning brain, and I don't mean that I apologize. I don't mean that in an insulting manner.
Yeah, no, I know.
He didn't. You
Because of
don't.
the planning that was evident in what happened. This was not spur of the moment.
No.
This wasn't haphazard. This wasn't, something that he just decided to do a couple of days ago. There was pre-attack casing and planning to this attack. Just don't know by whom.
You got a bullet through the past president and future president's ear. That's not that's not throwing a shoe at George Bush.
Yeah.
That's
Although
it.
the instincts were pretty good for both of them.
Yeah, credit words. Yeah, credit words do. Yeah, it's. I mean, but it's just. I mean, and not to again, not to just kind of go for the emotional rage bait, but I mean, there is a moment where like when I look at Joe Biden, I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I think I legitimately think he has, and it's my own, I think he has late stage dementia. I don't like Joe Biden as a person or a politician, but I think that Joe Biden has been long dead. When I look at him now, I see my late grandmother,
Mm.
just the innocence of a child. They don't remember what breakfast was. And I always try to and I don't mean this is a look at me, but I always try to extend my heart to that and go, this guy is not Joe Biden. This is an old man who belongs in a nursing home. And I always try to, and when people are like, no, screw him, I'm always like, I can't. I'm not saying that for Joe Biden. I'm saying that for myself, so my heart doesn't turn to complete ice. I have to maintain some level of empathy. There's just something about seeing the number of neon haired, nose piercing, non binary screaming, why did you miss? Today was almost a great day. This could have been the best day ever.
Mm.
Like, Trump getting what he deserves. I can't wait for the next round. And you're just looking at this and you're like, I mean, you reach a point where you're like, I mean, you try to love thy neighbor. You love me of love your neighbor as I have loved you. Like you try to be Christ-like. You try to turn the other cheek. But you see this and you're just
Well, if
I
Trump hadn't turned his cheek, he'd be dead.
fair counterpoint. And it's just, I mean, I don't, and maybe I'm just kind of going off on, man, I don't know like what more evidence you need of God or of guardian angels. I don't mean to go full like woo woo, but I mean he turned his head. I would
At the
imagine as the
exact
trigger,
split
as
second that
it's
literally saved his life. Yeah.
he it's and what I point is like it went by his ear, which sure you could say, oh, that's like an inch before that, but he was turned this way. That was going the back of his temple. That
So
was
I was,
going,
yeah. And the shooter was off to his right, and I guess from the building a little bit in front. And so it came in on a diagonal.
yeah.
I'm not quite sure how that, happened, but I'm glad that it did no more damage than it did, of course.
I just, I mean, I mean, it's, I don't know, it's, I like fly between just like rage and like tearing up, and it's just like anyone that has a functioning brain, you should feel just as upset as had that been Joe Biden. Like
A functioning heart.
anything, like well, not even a heart, but just rationally, the amount of domestic unrest that would ensue, like it's just
Well, is still going to ensue. I'll tell
still,
you, I took part in a Heritage Foundation academic exercise, as they're calling it, or war game, uh, um, a um, a full week ago, and I played the role of China in that game or that exercise. Um, and I really tried to get across the point of what I've actually been teaching and training local law enforcement on for the last 8 years. And that goes back to the time that I was working with John Guandolo, John Bennett, Understanding the Threat Organization, when we trained especially local law enforcement from sheriff's departments across the country. And if we'll recall, 2016 was also a presidential election year. And it is the year when at least I first really paid attention to the emergence, which had actually been a couple years prior, but the emergence of Antifa. And in that year also Black Lives Matter movement, which both of them had emerged a couple of years prior to that. But at that time, I asked John and John, if I could create a module, a training module for the course that would highlight the growing presence, organization, and violence on the campaign trail of that year 2016. And we did that. We did that and went forward training many groups. And just recently, more than 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I think, or something like that, about the end of June it was, I presented by Zoom to the annual United States Sheriff's Association meeting convention held this year in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And the topic of my presentation was the red-green axis revolution of 2024, because I think that this is just the leading edge of what's coming our way the rest of this year. I don't know what this kid's associations or connections may have been, whether there was anything to Antifa. We're not going to know because they won't let us see his social media, which is probably where all of this is pretty well documented. So we don't know that, but be that as it may, or even separately, I tried to get the point across at both Heritage with the war game and also with the Sheriff's Association the week before that, that we're heading into a very, I think, violent and chaotic 2024. And we'll be watching, of course, the conventions, Republican National Convention beginning tomorrow, literally in Milwaukee, and the Democrat National Committee Convention that begins in August in Chicago. But that's just part of it. we know that Trump's going to get back out on the campaign trail. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He may have a bandage on his right ear, but he's going to be out there. And I think much like the year 2016 and what I was warning of then, what I've warned of more recently, is that in addition to the election integrity interference, say the ballot stuffing, the ballot boxes, the manipulation, and all of that. In addition to that sort of thing, I think we're going to see a lot of violence and chaos. In particular, think also that the students will be back on campus within about
Weeks.
5 or 6 weeks or something like that, towards the middle end of August, depending on where they go. And those campuses, I think, are going to explode again, as well as our streets. So that's where I think we're at.
When whenever something happens, me and my buddy always exchange phone calls, and so it's
Sure.
may you live in interesting times. And like
Yeah.
we've been having these phone calls since pre-COVID,
Mm.
and even now we're just like, may you live in interesting. It is, it's I immediately the Trump website went in and said no future events. Everything had been scrubbed from the website. It just said cancel, which makes sense. And then they come out and say that they will continue. I mean, we might see on a lighter note, we might see like the funniest Trump we've ever seen. I
Well, his spirit is indomitable, for starters. I mean, this was a very, very serious
Oh
event,
yeah.
an attempted assassination, very closely successful attempted assassination of President Trump. But his spirit showed immediately when he emerged, standing up behind that podium with his fist raised. Fight, fight, fight. We're going to see that. Maybe we'll see some flashes of humor. Perhaps he does have a great sense of humor, and he often inserts, a few zingers into his rally speeches. A lot of off the cuff stuff that's not on the teleprompters. So
No.
yeah, we may see some of that, and I hope we do, in a way, because it might tamp down
Mm,
emotions, lighten the mood ever so slightly.
yeah.
Not to dismiss anything, or make light of things, but just to get emotions down. Um, but at the same time, pushing back uh, as
You have
hard as
to.
possible on narratives, coming out of the left, out of the Democrat Party, out of the Biden White House, and so forth.
Yeah, it's yeah, when I say he's gonna be humorous, that's not to like downplay it. To me, that is Trump's
Yeah,
toughness,
yeah.
right? Because if you come out and you laugh at someone, that in a sense actually is an insane position of strength. If you're shaking and it shows they got to. If Trump comes out and he's like, shit, I don't know, he's like, should have hired a better gunman, shouldn't have outsourced it to China. Like, he's gonna have some line that's gonna be incredible.
Yeah,
But
we'll see.
I mean, I hope because Trump, notoriously always had, as a billionaire, had private security. I hope he dials it up 10 notches. You can't wait. You can't wait on the
Well, and the
Biden
Secret
administration.
Service also is obligated to do that for this former president, all of
Yes,
his family, his
forever.
properties.
Yeah,
If not before, if what Dan Bongino says is correct, and they've turned down prior requests, that can't go on. The What's the position called? Director of the Secret Service needs to resign, like
yeah.
yesterday. Um, and the whole thing
Mayorkas.
needs to be, overhauled. But for the time being, yes, absolutely increase. And while we're at it, yes, give Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes.
Secret Service protection. I don't see why that would be denied, given his family's history. Himself out there, so visible on the campaign trail, he deserves that protection and has for a long time.
I mean, we are, and I have to find the silver lining in things simply because it's what gets me up and going every day, and that's just for my life in general. I have to find, no matter how faint it is. And I if I had to say what's the silver lining of this, I would say first is they wouldn't do this if the steal was guaranteed, if an election steal was guaranteed. Why would you risk this? You wouldn't
Well,
do.
if it's an inside job as you think, and not just the uprising of all the deranged lefties are
Sure,
us of America, which is
sure,
more what I'm tending towards.
sure.
But go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
no,
with
fair.
you. I'm
Yeah,
with you
no,
for that silver lining.
fair. Yeah, no, no, fair point. If it, when I say, I don't mean like, I mean, I think the people who, in the same way that Joe Biden's not in charge, whatever cabal is behind that power structure in the DNC, um, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't allow this to happen, even if he was your opposition. If you thought that would spark it would make him a martyr, you wouldn't do that. And the other thing is, I think there's more and more. I mean, just right after the conviction, right after the 34 felonies, right?
Mhm.
You saw a lot of people saying like, they're more moderate, coming out saying like they're attacking, like this isn't America. I'm going all in. You saw people donating tons of. I think Andrew
Yeah.
Tate came out that day.
Overnight.
They donated like 500,000. He raised like
No,
50 million.
millions plural with
Yeah.
an S.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
just one guy, Andrew Tate, came
Oh, I
out
see. Right,
and
right.
he's like $500,000 to Trump. Um, but now seeing him get shot at, I think there is a recognition of, because you always have to be, I know for me, I always have to be careful of when the other side's painted as pure evil. I'm always like, I got to use my own brain and let's not give into emotion. I think a lot of people are seeing now the severity. It's manifested. It's no longer an
Yeah, I
abstract
mean,
thing.
where we are as America. I mean, absolutely on a precipice. I think you started off today talking
It
like that.
is It is,
Absolutely.
and we're not in a vacuum. We are, we talk about seeing a lack of a strong America in the last 4 years, and what happens to the world? What happens when Trump gets shot in the head? What if he died yesterday? You're telling me that
There'd be
doesn't
civil war in the streets today,
there'd be civil war in the streets today?
which we don't want to see.
And what do you think would happen in Ukraine? What do you think would happen in Israel and Gaza? What do you think would happen in China and Taiwan? Everyone would move. All of the pieces would start moving. Because if we're the anchor of security and this thing implodes, what do you think they're all gonna do? King's
Yeah.
dead. Go grab your throne now.
I
It
mean, if we
is
think it's bad already with a Biden White House, you're right.
that's what I'm saying.
What would have happened had things gone much worse yesterday?
I mean, I really don't even I don't know how else. I legitimately believe it was divine intervention. And I can't back that up, obviously, as no one can. And I would
But many
imagine,
people are saying that.
but there is just the odds of it's just it's not that the guy missed. It's that he turned and it went from what should have
Just
been
at that moment.
it
Yeah.
should have been a live on TV JFK visceral headshot, and it turned into an ear. I don't know what the odds of that are. And again, if I was a lawyer and I had to argue against divine intervention, I think I'd tell my client, I'd be like, dude, I don't know. I don't know. And is there
Well,
was
what I do hope to see, talking of silver linings, is that first of all, at the Republican National Convention, that again it begins tomorrow in Milwaukee, that they strike the right tone, and there'll be many many speakers, of course, and each will have his her own perspective on things, undoubtedly. But Trump himself, of course, and whomever he announces as his VP pick. Remember, we're still waiting on that announcement. um,
that's supposed to be
strike to
tomorrow.
strike the balance between resolute courage, full steam ahead, torpedoes be damned, and all of that, balancing that with we are going to do this in a civil way, not giving in to, I mean, completely understandable emotion, anger, um, and fear, but not giving into that, rather standing resolutely. But as President Trump said way back there on January 6th at the Ellipse, we will march peacefully and patriotically. I think that's the tone I'd like to hear from the Republican National Convention next week. who knows what the Democrats are going to do in August in Chicago, but we'll wait for that.
I mean, we thought it was the fiery but mostly peaceful protests. So the fact that CNN came out yesterday and said Trump fell, and then I think was it Newsweek or Washington Post came out and said Trump evacuated amongst loud noises.
Yeah, yeah, I saw those.
Dude, I mean,
Incredible. I mean, you know, their credibility, such as it ever might have been, is in complete
is
shreds at this point.
Dr. Malone, Dr. Malone, and I honestly, man, credit Elon Musk. First thing he
Yes, him
did,
too.
fully
Absolutely.
endorsed president, and the first thing
Mm-hmm.
he did was start pointing at and said, "Why did this happen? Why was there a guy on that
Mm-hmm.
roof?" It's good to see him not slime big. Let's look. But no, why is there someone on that? And then, does that necessarily mean inside job? No, you're correct. It doesn't. What it does mean is that was not a lone dude. That was
Well,
not a
and
lone
also
dude.
that it was a massive failure of
Correct.
pre-event planning by the Secret Service.
It's I think the meme I saw will wrap it up with this, and don't worry, everyone. Now that I'm moved in, the regularly scheduled episodes with Claire will continue. But the best meme I saw was Mr. President, why did you turn your head at the last second? And he's going, and it's I thought I heard this voice of an old friend, and he's turning his head, and you see off in the clouds Shinzo Abe, and
Oh,
it's
I
just
saw that
I
meme.
let
I saw that. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
mean, what really happened is that in the beginning, President Trump was turning his head to the right because there was a great big monitor screen
yeah,
there
he's saying, look at the
that he was looking at for the data of this chart and this graph that he was quoting and citing from in the talk to the crowd, and then he would turn his head back to look straight ahead at the crowd. So it was a kind of a back and a forth, the monitor, the screen to the people, and it just happened that the timing was perfect this
God, man,
time, or
God,
almost
God
so.
bless. I talk about how, interviewing Charlie Duke, the Apollo astronaut, kind of brought me back to God in 2020. I can honestly say I prayed for the first time on my knees probably since middle school last night. I don't think I've started praying again. I haven't prayed on my knees like an altar boy in a while. I mean, it just,
Oh,
it's,
we were. I mean, all of us were just
we're,
glued.
it's just,
And
it,
when we saw him stand up on his own power, he ducked behind the podium on his own power too. He did not fall. He
yeah.
ducked. And then, but when we saw him standing up on his own, under his own power, supported and surrounded by the Secret Service. I mean, the roar from the crowd was just unbelievable because everybody realized, he's been hit, but he'll probably be okay.
It was, yeah, I sat down last night. I was just kind of scrolling through my phone, and I saw a tweet, and it said like 20 seconds ago. And it was like Trump shot, and I was like, and then I'm showing the clip, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I see him stand up, and I was just like, I just lost my mind.
Everybody, yeah.
I
I
was
was watching my TV. I wanted to watch the rally, so I was watching the,
yeah, yeah.
I was watching it from, beginning to end. Yeah.
I mean,
And then the phones start going off.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
I
we'll
love
learn
that.
a lot more in days to come, I'm sure.
uh,
Um,
I love,
well, maybe I shouldn't say I'm sure. I hope
yeah.
that it's not all covered up and swept away like his social media account, the shooter's social
And
media account.
I was gonna say, I love all the tweets. I'm voting for voting for the bullet dodging outlaw, and I was like, yeah, and but I don't know if you saw,
Huh.
Steven Crowder's team sent an undercover to the shooter's residence
No,
last
I
night
didn't
at
know
like
that.
11 p.m. They
Oh,
pull up, big
but how did he
sign.
know? How did he know the identity or the house address?
Crooks, I don't know. I think it's, well, because
Crooks,
somebody
yeah.
found his high school graduation from 2022.
Yeah,
I think,
but how did they know that that was him?
no idea. They don't. They pull up, and it's at night. I'll send you the video. Steven Crowder tweeted it. Big road closed off. The guy at the sideway parked a pickup, and he pulls up and he goes, "What's going on?" He says, I was told to shut down this road." And they're going, "By who?" And he goes, "I don't know by who. I don't know why." But he's like, "You need to get out of here." And it's something's odd, man.
I
Something's
mean,
odd.
there's too much too
But
quick
no, correct. How did they know? That's very
identifying
correct.
that shooter,
I
Crooks,
had
Thomas Crooks. shutting down all his social media, if that happened after and not before the shooting, which I think is still an open question.
Correct.
Um, well, anyway, lots of
Yeah.
questions, and
Yeah.
I
No, a
know
lot
we'll
of,
hear more in
yeah,
hours and
no.
days to come.
No, you're right. It's speculation. I mean, I would imagine he would want to be known, but if he's, let's say, if he's part of a cell, it might be, hey, delete everything so it doesn't come to us. But like you, I mean, no, you're right. It's at this point where it's just wild speculation.
Yeah, we mustn't
No,
give
yeah,
in
no,
to
you're right.
speculation,
You're
and
you're
me
right.
too.
Yeah,
We need to be patient a little bit, and we can pick up again next week
we will. We'll get back to our shows and yeah, I don't. May you live in interesting times. I don't like
or
living.
not.
I'm okay with 33, 9/11, 08, COVID, and Trump. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of. Can we dial it down for like?
Full up right now.
Can we
Yeah,
dial it down for like a century real quick? I've seen enough. Thank you, but I've seen enough.
enough.
So,
Yeah.
but Miss
Well,
Claire Lopez, thank you for your time. Thank you for
thank you,
your
Tommy. Good to
cool-headed
see you again.
analytics. Yes, ma'am.
And
And yeah, no, you're
catch
right.
you again soon next time.
Absolutely. We'll
Thank
continue.
you.
We'll continue this coming week. Miss Lopez, thank you so much. Guys, please go in the description. Please go follow her on Twitter. Please go check out all of our websites. It's all in the description. And till next week, Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. God bless America. Stay safe.